And good evening. Welcome to the East County Sports Report with Dave Dickens. I'm Ramon Scott. Dave, you've got the brown and gold on. We're on the air here as the Padres are playing game two. I thought we'd just watch the game together and talk a little prep football tonight as we get ready for week 7. And the big news this week, Dave, uh, finally, it feels like league season is here, so it's great to be with you and talk league football tonight because we got some things we need to figure out heading into the league season. Maybe I'll put you on the spot and ask for some more to review your predictions from earlier in the season.
Well, I just can't believe that we're already at that point where we're actually at league or starting league. It seems like yesterday we were just doing our previews. But at any rate, I think we got quite a few good league games on tap. The only one really from out of town that's a little different, that's not within league is and we'll talk about that later, that team from Huntington Beach, Edison High, that will be taking on the Highlanders. But
I know you're no Chargers fan, and that's what Edison Chargers.
Yeah. Don't get me started on. I bet you Aaron Rodgers' tail end hurts after playing the Denver pass rush. But anyhow, let's talk some prep picks because I think we're going to have some great games on tap.
I can't wait, and they're so intriguing that the matchups right now, and I just cannot figure out. I mean, I think I can now. I don't know. I don't know what I want to do in the Grossmont Valley League prediction race right now. And did you want to make any picks right now before we go into the picks for the games, Dave, with the league standings? Maybe before you have to break down the games a little bit. I can with you if you'd like, because I think in the Valley League right now, I think I'm settled with Granite Hills certainly above Helix and Mount Miguel at this point as the favorite, and I'll put Steel Canyon in 4th place and Grossmont in 5th. So it'd be right now. I'm going to say Granite Hills. I'm going to pick Helix. Or I'm pick Mount Miguel for an upset, maybe over Helix. So I'm going to pick Mount Miguel second right now, and then Helix third, followed by Steel Canyon, and then Grossmont in the Hills League. Do you have any objection to that stand? Do you have Helix ahead of Mount Miguel still, probably?
Well, the thing we've been talking about, especially lately, is the strength of schedule and the teams that they've been playing. Now, Mount Miguel, have they been playing the talent level, let's say, as Steel Canyon? Granite Hills definitely has played the top talent. I mean, the first game of the season, they had to travel to play the Mission Hills Grizzlies, and they took care of business. And we talked about that game before it even came out a week before, saying whoever wins this is going to be great. Let's just fix that camera. And what happened to my camera?
I hear you pretty good though, brother. Go ahead and fix. Well,
anyway, like I was saying is
for a minute. Okay, I could keep talking if you could. There you are.
All right. So what I was saying is, it was a big game. Whoever wins, they're going to have an easier season. Well, I wouldn't say easier, but it's going to be an easier road. And it made it, I think it brought Mission Hills down to number 4 just by losing that game the following week. But I think Granite, then they bounce back. They They beat them, and then they went and played a tough team from that tough team, Perry from Arizona. Was it Granite had an off day, or was it Perry was that good? I'm going to go out on a limb and say Perry was that good. They had some pretty talented players, whether it be the quarterback, the receiving core. They were able to run the ball, and they had a pretty stout defense. But then Granite Hills regrouped. What did they do? They went and took it out on the poor East Lake, and they really took it to them. And then they decided that wasn't enough. And then last week, they had to do the same thing. I mean, what was that, like 87 points in 2 weeks or something around there? So the offense is clicking. The secondary doesn't have to work as hard as we spoke to a couple of them at In-N-Out Burger last week, and even got to speak to our. We think that Spalding's going to be a star. Nothing to take away from Max Turner, but it seems like it's going to turn into a two-headed monster in the backfield, and he's been looking real good. I think since the last 4 minutes of the Perry game, and since, so who knows? Maybe that's going to be Kellen Cobb's. That's going to be his secret weapon, just to give some time off to Max, because we all know what Max Turner can do. And then Benitez, I mean, I think he's by far the best quarterback in the Hills League for sure. And what about the pass rush? I mean, you got your De Leon, and you got your Proctor, and the secondary. I mean, how many picks have we gotten now? Who do we have? Lewis, and who was the other one that had a pick last week? At any rate, Granite Hills is the best. Period.
Trevor Smith.
Yes.
We had two of them.
So, I mean, there you have it. That's why Granite Hill, and they played the toughest schedule so far. And then you said second was, were you saying that Mount McGill was second?
I'm going with Mount McGill second. So in order for that to happen, Mount McGill will likely need to defeat Helix, and that's what I'm going to end up calling here at this point of the season. The rankings certainly have Helix ahead. I mean, have Mount McGill ahead of Helix right now. You know, the county poll, Mount McGill still is around the top 10. I have them number 8 currently, and I also have, Helix right now at number 15. Now, the trick here in that game this season, Dave, when Helix plays Mount McGill, Helix is at home. So Mount McGill would need to go on the road to win that game in order to, be in position to get second place. If I've got the Eagles sweeping the Hills League right now, over beating both Helix and Mount McGill and Steele. Don't forget, that's our first game up this week. When we talk about the games here in just a moment, will be Steele Canyon at Granite Hills, even though sounds like a great game. We know, honestly, it's, it'd be a big upset. It'd be a huge upset right now. So right now, I'm just saying Granite Hills. Then I'm going to go with Mount McGill to go into Helix. They're the higher ranked team at this point. They obviously do not have that experience of the, being in the Hills League and a top 10 team like they are right now. So they're going to have to overcome some of those things, but they just have a little bit more, it seems like, talent. Helix has great talent too, but maybe just Mount McGill, they just seem to have more of it. Now, the one thing is, Mount McGill, it does feel like the area where they, and when they're talking about these elite teams, the top 10 teams of the county, their defense has not really proven it yet that they are maybe even on par with Helix or of course Granite Hills. So that's what they'll need to overcome. And I'm going to say that Mount Miguel does that as a Highlander. I'm going to say that. I'm going to just trust that these offensive guys are just so powerful right now that they'll win that big game. And my prediction in the Hills League will be Granite, Mount Miguel, Helix, Steel Canyon, and Grove Spot.
Well, and the only other one I disagree with you. I think it's hard for me.
Grove Spot is going to finish in 4th place, and Steel Canyon is going to finish in 5th. I'll say it for you.
I really do, and I may be eating crow while you're eating round table, but I really think that league time. I think that Anthony Lawrence and the Hillers are going to put together some magic, and I really think their biggest thing. I think somehow they need to generate. And no offense to Coach Lawrence at all, but I don't know, so we can open up some
Grossmont too, Dave. It's at Grossmont.
But to open up some play action, let's pound the ball a couple of times. I know Tommy is fantastic. I know he can. I mean, he is one heck of a quarterback. He can fit him in the tight spaces. He can throw the long ball. Not getting into any Aikman style here, but all I'm saying is I think if they can justify the run and make it happen on the ground, I think that they're going to be stronger than Steel Canyon. So I'm going to say Steel Canyon is going to be at the bottom, unfortunately.
Okay, and then anything there with the second and third, Helix and Mount Miguel, or just?
You know what? I think that it's going to be a toss-up. To be honest, that
game will be a toss-up, but I'm just going to give Granite Hill. I'm going to give Mount Miguel the edge right now, even though it's at Helix. Like I said, they're ranked higher right now, and it's close. So you're right, it's close.
I think whoever has the most stamina at the end of that game, because I think that's one of the weaker points sometimes in the games that we've seen with Mount Miguel, and I think the best thing that Helix can do is try to wear down that defense. And I think that's going to be the key to victory and finishing ahead. But you remember, I had the quote from the head coach of the Matadors, and he said that once league starts, we're going to show everybody what we're made of. And the party on the bus when they once they start winning. So it remains to be seen, but I'm not sure for second and third. Those ones are tough. I'm going to just say it's a toss-up, but if I had to go, I'll probably have to agree with you, even though you are a Highlander yourself. I'm going to say Mount Miguel might have the slight edge.
Okay, Dave, and over in the Valley League, I'm going to pick the Santana Sultans to win the Valley League. Here we know that it's going to be just an impossible to figure out, but Santana hosts those two key games at home. I'm talking about the game against El Capitan and the game against Santana. They're going to be at home in both those games. And I think for me, other than the fact that also Santana might be the team that's playing better right now, I rate them a little bit higher with their 4-1 record. West Hill's also, decent, good record right now as well at 4-1. But with Santana getting to host those games at home, there could be some upsets with those. It's one thing we're going to see is, and we'll see it this week, it's teams like Santana and El Capitan are going to have to avoid that sneaky upset against these teams like Valhalla and Monte Vista that have their one big chance right now this week to pull off an upset there. And shake up the whole season for one of those teams. In fact, don't lose those games. Obviously, don't lose any league game, but don't focus ahead on West Hills, Santana, and El Capitan if your next game is against Monte Vista or Valhalla, because that's going to cost you. So just be ready on those. It can't look ahead and say these three teams are better. So I'm going to pick Dave Santana to win the Valley League because they're at home and they are playing just a little bit better here right now. And don't forget the other thing, is on El Capitan's schedule, they play, those road, they're still in those consecutive road games here too for the next 3 weeks at Monte Vista, at Valhalla, and at Santana.
Yeah, and I mean, you got an excellent point. I'm just looking at a couple of numbers here real quick. And he's one of the few seniors that's still on the team. And Caden Hallman, last week we didn't even get a chance to talk to him because he was basically a wanted man. His family wanted to take him out. I mean, he was a king at the homecoming, and he was a king on the field, 4 touchdowns, and not to mention he's averaging 134 yards a game, give or take a couple of yards. And then he's also been playing a little bit of defense too. I don't want to say he's carrying the team, but then we have the defensive side, and let's see, and then I have Thornton. I mean, you got both of them, Aiden and Colton, right now leading tackles per game on average. Colton Thornton is averaging 7 tackles a game, and Thornton almost 6. So really some for being a young team, I think they're doing really well, and I can see why you would pick them to win the Hills League.
And I'll go with El Capitan second, Dave, and I will go with West Hills third. And again, because El Cap hosts both Santana and West Hills has to go on the road to both Santana and El Capitan. I know it's a cop out, but I'm just thinking that because of the balance of these teams, the home field edge is going to be what decides it, quite frankly. So don't think that I'm putting any one team's talent on top of one another, although I think right now I do rank the teams in that order, but I think it helps to be at home in those games. So I've got it, Dave, right now as Santana winning the Hills League, followed by El Capitan, then West Hills to come in third place. And the game then between Valhalla and Monte Vista, which will be at the end of the season, I've got Monte Vista to win that one to get 4th place. So I've got Valhalla 5th and El Cajon Valley 6th.
Well, I'm going to disagree on this one. I'm going to agree with you that the Santana Sultans, the way that they have been playing on both sides of the ball, even though they are the younger team, I will pick them first. But, and I know several people are going to be upset about this one, but I think that they're underrated, and the amount of points that they put up, and
the Monarchs can get second place in the league, Dave?
I think I'm going to go out on a limb, and with Villanueva, I mean, he is a scoring machine. He's a scoring machine, and that offensive line is part of the reason that he is a scoring machine. I think, hands down, and I'm going to say it right now, in the Hills League, he's the best running back in the Hills League, hands down. No offense to anybody else. I mean,
I will say this about the Monarchs. As I'm going to come on here and talk about teams that are playing at home, they host all three of the top contenders. They host El Capitan. They host West Hills. They host Santana. And their road games are at El Cajon Valley and Bahala. The schedule totally favors the Monarchs. So I don't mind that prediction from you here, as if you wanted to shake it up and put them all the way up to second place. Now that would take them winning probably two of those three games for sure. I would think there that, because with a 6-team league, I don't, like I said, these games are so close that we could end up with some tie, or feels like a little bit.
Hey, look what we had. I always refer to the pandemic year where we had the three Hills teams that all got to carry a banner. A completely different situation, though. We were playing football in spring, so that was a whole different ball game. But I do see maybe there will be a tie, or maybe a trifecta. I mean, who knows? But for now, I'm going to say Monte Vista on offense and defense. Hamamoto's got it. It's a machine. It's a machine, and it's led by Villanueva. There's been a couple of passes even against Grossmont. I saw Derek throwing a few, couple of short passes, but for the most part, it's why are you gonna throw the ball when it's working for you on the ground and you're having so much success? Don't fix it if it's not broken, right? So I am going to take the Monte Vista Monarchs in second. And
you heard it. I'm going to bookmark this because I'm going to make you go East County viral if the Monarchs do that. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not questioning you. You're Dave Dickens. But I want everyone to know, when you do pick the Monarchs to finish second, and they do, I'm going to go trumpeting your channeling your father here, because that would be a big surprise. No disrespect. I love those. I love Villanueva. I love when we've talked to them. They're great.
Well, I think, and they're very their football IQ on that field too. You can tell that they really know how to play the defense, how to play the offense, and what to look for. So enough of them, but I do believe they're going to finish second. And now into third.
Awesome.
Third and fourth. That's another tough one. I think Valhalla is an up and coming Norseman team. We've been waiting to see them come up for quite a few years now. I mean, they really haven't been too competitive, and that's putting it mildly. Unfortunately, sorry to the Norsemen, but that's just the way it is. And West Hills has had some spectacular years in the last couple of years. I mean, they had some up and down, but just a couple of years ago, I think it was 21. They were almost undefeated, or maybe even lost one game, I believe. And then, unfortunately, go up to Ramona. And, yeah, we just didn't like that game because got beat up a little bit. That's a long bus ride home. But what I have to say is every year, I think you got the defensive master when it comes to Casey Ash and the defense that he gets to work with. And there's never a shortage in football players at West Hills, I must tell you as well. They love football at every level at West Hills High School. So as far as the pack, I'm really hoping that Joey is going to be 100%. I think that is going to have a big effect on whether or not West Hills ends up in a third spot. If not, they still got a defense and they can still run the ball. And they I mean, what was a 7-0 game 2 weeks ago? So they're no one's blowing them out. No, and when they do beat them, that defense is shutting them down. So I think the quarterback is real important at this point to being healthy and ready to go. Now, this is where I think there could be a tie because El Capitan, I'm not ready to count them out. They came out looking like they were going to run away with the Valley League. Came out looking really good. Brant Barker was slinging it all over the field, and he was beating all of the secondary. He was able to do well in the pocket and did a little running too against Mira Mesa. Great game. I don't know what happened after that. The wheels just came off and they started losing ball games, and they weren't getting blown out either, but it's just I just wanted to figure out what happened. Why did the wheels come off? You got one of the better defensive coordinators along with, I mean, we all know Ron Berner is a mastermind that's been coaching for I don't know how many years now, but kind of a Belichick, if you will, offensively. And I just don't know. Maybe he was scratching his head too. But as we spoke to Sean McDade, the defensive coordinator, last week, when they did get the win, he seemed to think that they got it fixed, and that the defense did exactly what they were supposed to do, as well as the offense. Barker looked good, and they looked like the El Capitan team that came out of the gate hot. So, with that being said, if they continue to play like they did the first game out of the gate, I'm going to say it's going to be real close between West Hills and El Cap taking that third spot. But El Cap plays like they should, then I will have to lean towards El Cap. And then we know, I'm sorry, the El Cajon Valley Braves, new coach, young team. I think it's a big learning curve right now. And they've had, you know what? They haven't exactly had easy squads to play either. They've had to play some tough teams. So, but you know what? The Braves have built up those young teams like that lose all those games first year together. A lot of times they come back, and who knows, they might end up in the playoffs. But right now, from what I see, they're not going to go too far. So I think they're going to grab the cellar, and I think Valhalla is going to be one up. And don't get me wrong, I think Valhalla is very improved, especially at the quarterback position, along with their running game. I think they can do some damage. So any of those in the Hills League, and I'm talking about Santana too, do not take those Norsemen lightly, because I've seen them make some fantastic plays. And I'm sure they're going to mix it up when they have to play the likes of teams like Santana. So, like I said, I'm going to pick definitely one step up from Elkhorn Valley is going to be Valhalla. But that one's going to be hard to figure out all year long.
Okay, well, I'm on the record. Santana first, then El Cap, then West Hills, then Monte Vista, then Valhalla, then El Cajon are my predicted order of finish in the Hills League. Okay. All right, Dave, we might as well get into the previews then, and that way you can, clarify your position here on some of these, because we've got some great games to go over here for this Friday night, including one of your favorite. By the way, Dave, like I said, we're filming this live during the Padre game, and while you were doing your preview of the Hills League, Higgy hit another home run. Manny just doubled in a couple, and the Padres are up 3-1. You've got the Padres gear on. All right, Dave. Here we go with the previews this week. Dave, you've seen these two teams play each other many times, and maybe the spread has been a little bit closer in years past right now, but you can't count out the Steel Canyon Cougars when they go on and take on rival in a way, Granite Hills Eagles here, but the Eagles certainly one of the top 3 teams in the country. You mentioned their loss here to Perry. But they bounced back certainly with that big win last week, as you mentioned, against Madison with Max Turner rushing for 3 touchdowns. Trevor Smith, a couple of interceptions, including that 44-yard pick six return for a touchdown, 40 yards, whatever it was. Trevor has been terrific so far this season. So has the entire Eagles defense and secondary. They also blocked the punt last week as well. So Steel Canyon, Dave, they had Point Loma last week. They ended up throwing 5 interceptions in that game. They had to kind of play from behind. They did close within 14-8 when Austin Haish caught a touchdown pass and they were within striking distance. But Point Loma just ended up with a little bit too much against Steel Canyon in the game last week. And Steel Canyon's strong running game, Dave, was limited here, Dave, to just 44 yards in the game on 32 yards on 18 attempts. So Kaha had 221 yards, including 7 connections with Austin Haish. Also, junior Noah Diarcos had 3 receptions, including 1 for a touchdown from Kaha. And senior Jacob Vasquez had 6 receptions for SC. And Marcelo Olivieri had 4 receptions for 44 yards. You see here, Dave, those are statistics that I'm not used to hearing from Steel Canyon. They were passing much, much more. They were also trailing most of the way in that game, although it was just, in the end, just 27-16.
Well, when you're trailing, I think that's where all those interceptions came in, is now we're getting worried and we're going to have to make those big plays. And that's when you start throwing ill-advised passes that go to the wrong team. And when you're turning the ball over that many times, it is very hard to win a ball game and come back. And unless you are also causing turnovers, whoever wins a turnover battle, I mean, it's a broken record. They're going to be the ones that win the ball game. And that's just Kaha. I mean, I don't think he threw more than, 3 interceptions prior to that for the whole season, maybe less. So I really think that against this secondary, they need to be really careful on maybe a couple of short passes, some play action, and Weaver would be a lot of Weaver would be a great idea against these Eagles. They do have a great running defense as well, but I wouldn't suggest going to the air for those long ones, because it might end up as a pick six or a pick. Either way, it's dangerous. No fly zone, if you will.
Well, Dave, the Eagles are going to be favored here. Got breaking news, or I don't know if it was breaking news. It was a couple days ago, but this is funny. You'll love this, Dave. The computers went on strike this week. And I'm not kidding. A disagreement between the people who create the secret sauce, if you will, the formula that nobody understands, but we have to abide by, the one that you love so much. Well, they said, you know what? CBS, who owns the who are at least contracted with the company that puts out the rating system, they didn't pay those guys. And so they said, well, you know what? No pay, no ratings. So unfortunately, through my level of my level of contacts here, we're able to determine that the Eagles, Dave, in this game are between a 5 and 6 touchdown favorite. But look, this is Steel Canyon. I've got to think they can keep this one within 4 touchdowns. I'll say Granite Hills wins this one. I'll call it by 4 touchdowns. I hope it's closer. I'd like to see Steel Canyon get back. You always talk about Weaver in that running game. It just did not work out against Point Loma. And the tough thing is when you pass against Point Loma, they've had great secondary defenders for years. That's been one of the strong points of their team, has been their strength in their secondary. So that ended up as a bad formula, even though Kaha was 20 of 35 for 221 yards. And again, those are some outrageous numbers when you think about Steel Canyon, 21 completions and guys with 6 and 7. Hey, I love the direction if that's the way they're going to go. But I think the formula for Steel Canyon is always to be establish a running game.
Well, I think when you have people like Mr. Smith and in the back, he's just waiting for you to toss one. And let's give credit to the edge rushers as well that are putting pressure on that offensive line. I'd like to say that the offensive line for the Steel Canyon Cougars, though, is a little stronger than some of the or the last 2 teams that Granite Hills has faced. But I think in reality, Granite Hills has got everything covered from special teams. I mean, was it a couple of weeks? We had 2 kick returns back to back. Each team had one. So the special teams, they're great too. They had a state championship, a CIF championship, and you know what? The way that they're going right now, until they get knocked off, they could be heading in the same direction once again. But throw out the records when it comes to these 2 teams, because Steel Canyon and Granite Hills, I've watched at least 4 or 5 games where it came down to a 2-point conversion. Should we kick the extra point? Should we kick the field goal? Should we try and get it's 4th and inches to get into? I mean, just amazing plays, and always at the last minute or so, just you got both sides fans biting their nails. But being at Granite Hills, and you know how they file in over there, I'm going to give the crowd, and I'm going to give, there's really no imperfections per se that I can find on this squad.
And you mentioned it, Dave, with those, if you have a team that's having a few interceptions, Granite Hills has 9 interceptions as a team. You mentioned Smith with 3, but don't forget Parker Vance has 4 so far this season. So I've got the Eagles. I'm going to say by 4 touchdowns here this week. Like I said, I think the computers have it more than that here, but like I said, they did. Oh, I didn't finish the story though. So they did come to an agreement. I guess probably sent them a check or something. I don't know how much you get paid to make the ratings, but they said they'll be back up before the weekend. So just take my word for it here. Granite Hills is probably between a 5 and 6 touchdown favorite, but I'm going to say they only win it by 4 touchdowns. So I'm kind of thinking that Steel Canyon's going to play better than the striking computers. I don't know, what are they, like the shipping companies? We're going to have no hamburger meat and no shrimp for the next 3 months because of the shipping company strike, where the guy's going to cripple the nation. Here is our prep football ratings going to be down for the playoff. I'm available. I work cheap, as you know.
Well, well, and I mean, as long as
the best reporter in the county get laid off too. Shout out if you're watching. Go ahead. Other than you, Dave.
As long as they don't do a writer's strike for that long, if the computers went on that long of a strike, I would be fine with it. As you know, my feelings towards the computers. But you're right. They probably just stroked a nice check that made them happy, and they went right back into their to their desks and wrote up their plays and what they think and crunched their numbers. But in this one, I'm going to go ahead and take my Eagles by 3 touchdowns.
Okay, you've got it even closer. So we're expecting Steel Canyon to, do better than expected, I think.
Just because the history says that throughout the records when it comes to these two.
Okay. All right, Dave. Here's an interesting matchup. So let's see where the teams stand. You kind of think that maybe the Grossmont will have. Now, look, this thing could be, I don't know about if we said, talk about how many points could be scored here, but I would imagine this game could get somewhere into the 90s, I guess, if we're not careful. Most of it, I would imagine, is still going to come from the Matadors. They're a big favorite here, Dave, after their loss last week. You mentioned, how tough has their schedule. Well, the Matadors did have a tough game last week against the Loyola Cubs. They kept fighting back, no doubt about it, but they just didn't have enough. It wasn't like they didn't have enough firepower, Dave, for the Cubs. The Mount Miguel Matadors were turned away 4 times inside the red zone in the game. A.J. Stowers threw for a school record 481 yards, and he also threw 5 touchdowns for the Matadors, but they lost to that Loyola team 46-38. They trailed 14-3 in the second quarter when Stowers threw an 80-yard bomb to speedster Brandon Arrington for an 80-yard score, and that got them to within 14-10. Then even after Loyola took the lead, it was Stowers to Logan. Once again, A.J. Logan, he had another huge night, Dave. The junior receiver had 9 receptions for 196 yards and 3 touchdowns. Huge numbers again from Logan. He caught a TD pass to make it 21-17, but the Cubs came right back. That's what I keep saying, Dave, about the Matadors maybe defensively. So this will be a great test for him because it's not Granite Hills, it's not Helix here, but it is a team that definitely relies on the pass. Dave, when you're talking about the Grossmont Foothillers. Also, Paris Vernon had an unbelievable play for 79 yards in the game. He ended up with 119 total. Mount Miguel got it to win 28-23, but then Loyola just kind of pulled away. They actually led 36-23 at one point, and then the Matadors got some more scores on the end. But Dave, for Grossmont, they played that awesome game last week against Monta Vista. Monta Vista, they kept coming back. You loved it with Villanueva. You watched a lot of that game. He had that 62-yard touchdown run that kept them in the game early, and Tommy Donovan just kept throwing touchdown passes. He ran, he had a 43-yard pass for a touchdown that made it 16-6, but here came Villanueva back the other way. It was actually at one point just 32-26 after a 5-yard touchdown run by Alex in the game. We say him like he's, on a first name basis. Dave, so far, Alex V. Villanueva has over 1,000 yards rushing so far on the season. Now, Dave, Mount Miguel is anywhere. Maybe the computers are on strike a little bit, Dave. They're anywhere from a 3-touchdown favorite to a 6-touchdown. I know that's kind of wide range here. I know you're probably going to have it a little bit closer with the Foothillers.
That's exactly it. I think that Grossmont definitely we saw it against Patrick Henry. We don't want to really. I'm sure that Mr. Lawrence doesn't want to. Coach Lawrence doesn't want to remember that game, as there were so many points on the other side as well. But I'm thinking if they can play, if they can just stop Mount McGill, and not only that, but I think if Grossmont, instead of throwing the ball so long and so quickly and scoring so fast, maybe slow the game down a little bit and keep the ball away from Mount McGill. Take a little time and kind of do, like I said, maybe a couple of runs, play action, and then throw the long ball. But let's try to hold on to the ball as long as we can and let that time tick away. And that's going to keep the high scoring Matadors on the sidelines. I think that would be the way that I would roll with it. And then Mount McGill, they're always coming back, but I have a feeling about this one, and they've said that they are going to do really well when it comes to league time. They were talking like they were going to beat pretty much everybody. So in the Grossmont Conference, I don't call that cockiness. I call that just pure confidence. However, I think Grossmont's going to give them a run for their money also. So with that being said, I'm going to go with the upset of the Grossmont Hillers by a field goal.
Okay, so you're going with Grossmont to win, but in the league picks, something's not making sense here. You said you have Mount McGill ahead of Grossmont, right? Not anymore, or did you? I'm sorry, did you pick Grossmont ahead of Mount McGill in the picks? In the league picks?
No.
Okay.
But I have a feeling in this game it's going to be close, and I'm saying if they play this game like that and they keep,
doesn't add up, is what I'm saying. The math doesn't add up. You only got 5 games, and unless you think Mount McGill is going to actually end up beating Helix there. I wasn't sure what you said.
I think that's a good possibility too. I think this might be one of those upset games that no one predicted.
Okay, well, I've got Mount McGill like 5 touchdowns at least. Maybe.
Okay.
6. All right. Just want to make it clear because, like I said, you only can win 5 games. You can only go 5-0, 4-1, 3-2, 2-3, 1-4, 0-5. Not even that 5-team league. You can only go 4-0, 3-1. 1-3. What am I getting? Am I getting them right? And 0-4. So. Okay, I'm okay with that. That's your pick, but Mount McGill's a huge favorite here, and I would think they'll find a way. They did win that. Grossmont did end up winning that game 54-33 last week over Monte Vista. DeMar Smith had a touchdown run in the game. Donovan for 396 yards and 6 touchdowns. So you could see what I'm saying, Dave, and this one could have 90 points or more. I think realistically, it's probably going to be between 70 and 80 points in this game. If you want some exciting, high-scoring football, I think this is the game that will have a ton of points. I don't see any other way around it here. I would be surprised if it was like even 31-20, 31-24 or 34-20 or something like that. I think the winner here has at least 42 points, if not more here. I guess they'd have to have more to get up to 70. So
hold on to that ball. Hold on to that ball and take your time. That's all I got to say, because if you give it right back to them, they're going to run right down or throw it right down the field. So that's my outlook on that one.
Dave, last week, Noah Walker, your man, Noah Walker had 7 receptions and 3 touchdowns overall from Donovan. Parker Vanderberg had 4 receptions for 1 touchdown. But listen to this. Senior Josh Herbert had 7 receptions for 1 and a touchdown as well. Randy Ballard, Jr. had a touchdown. But for Herbert, the former Foothiller quarterback, making an impact on offense in the game last week against the Monarchs in that game. So, all right, Dave's got an upset here. That's Dave Dickens. His dad went to Grossmont, everybody. And I've got Mel to get here.
And he caught Brian Sipe. That was cool.
As a pitcher on the mound, Dave, and your dad with bad knees had only his bad into a sports writing career. Okay. Fair enough. Let's go, Foothillers. Let's make this a game this weekend and have some excitement, because it does, I guess anything's possible when you get a shootout, right, Dave? I mean, maybe the Grossmont they certainly have enough offensive talent. Maybe not the same as Mount Miguel, but I don't know. It just feels like all their. I don't want to say anything about this defense. They just had, Alex was running all over the place with that misdirection. We'll talk about the Monarchs.
Well, Coach might end up throwing the backpack at me, but hey.
Okay, nope, you're going to ride with it. All right, here we go. Helix is going to take on Edison, Dave, and you're going to have an Edison team, probably about a 3-touchdown favorite or so here, maybe just a little bit more against Helix. Helix goes on the road, out of conference, take on a team higher ranked once again with only 5 teams in the league. They got to find an opponent here, and it's not an easy one here when they go play the Edison Chargers. Helix had their bye last week, so still trying. They've got a couple wins here now, and usually Helix teams, even the ones that have started slowly over the last couple of years, have seemed to find their footing as the season goes along. They'll be an underdog here, though.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, I guess one advantage is, well, Helix had a disadvantage is they got to be the ones to go travel to Orange County. That usually doesn't fare for the team that's on the road. Not to mention, we still don't know if Lester's going to go in there, and I think that would make a huge difference. And I don't want to take anything away from who's behind center right now, but it's just that he's not a runner. He's a pocket passer. He can throw the ball. But after what you told me about Edison, Helix really needs to win this game. If they can pull it off somehow, some way, they really need to get a win, because they don't want to be 2-4 and having to face those Hills teams. It's just going to be an uphill battle from here. I almost think if they lose this one, they have to win out in reality.
Well, and I think they only have to win the Grossmont Hills League. That's what I'd be looking forward to if I were the Helix Highlanders. And, this is a good tune-up here against the Edison Chargers. Edison has a running back that has over 1,000 yards this season in senior Julius Gillick. He'll be the man that they'll look to slow down here in this game, Dave. That's kind of Edison's forte. They run at a 2-to-1 ratio, and they kind of split time between a couple of quarterbacks. Jerome Stevens has better passing numbers than Lee Norman Lester, but does not run. And Norman Lester does have over 100 yards rushing in just his 2 appearances so far this season. but again, he was hobbled and has missed some time. So Stevens has done an admirable job here with the Highlanders coming up, but I've got Helix here. I got Edison here winning this one, Dave. I'll go with Edison by, I'll say 3 touchdowns. It might be 4, it might be 3. I think Edison wins this one.
I should have asked Coach Jones. Not that I was going to get the exact, but I should have asked him about that. When he expects Lester to come back. I mean, because of the injury, they could really use that running ability that he does have, and even throwing on the run. But like you said, we can't take anything away from Stevens either. But from what you told me and looking here, it's unfortunate, but I think that Edison's, I'm going to have to go with the Orange County team by 3 touchdowns.
That'll be the first time Dave has picked the Chargers to win. All right, let's move on, Dave, to the Grossmont Valley League now, and this should be an awesome segment here at this point because you've got games that I've already teased here. You got to look out if you're the Santana Sultans. My pick to win the Grossmont Valley League, but they're on the road against a much improved Valhalla Norseman here, Dave. Of course, Santana had that awesome win last week against Claremont. It was they took care of business. I don't mean to oversell it a little bit. They dominated the game, Dave, against the Claremont Chieftains. Certainly last week, Caden Hallman, you already talked about all of his accomplishments last week, including being the homecoming king. So maybe I could talk about a few of the other guys, including Wyatt Williams, a senior who had a 3-yard rushing touchdown. Sultans rushed for 219 yards against the Chieftains. Also, Santana's 2 quarterbacks. You mentioned how young they are in a few areas, Dave. Sophomore Ethan Miller, freshman Kyle Carnes got in because of the blowout and get him a little time in there. They combined to go 7 of 8 for 123 yards. Miller threw a touchdown pass of 11 yards to Noah Quaylen. We asked Coach about it, remember, on the show. And you mentioned the Thornton brothers, Dave. Aiden Thornton had a pair of sacks in the game, and Colton Thornton had a team-high 6 tackles for the Sultans. Valhalla comes in, though. They had their bye, and with, right now, it just feels like Valhalla, to me, has drastically improved, as you mentioned, this season with Newman at quarterback here this season, Dave. But still, the Sultans will be the favorite in this game, probably by about 3 touchdowns, Dave.
Yeah. I'm trying to find him right now. That stud running back and what he has on the ground average for the Norsemen real quick here.
Oh yeah, well, no, I mean they've got 3. Well, they've got McHale, the senior, of course, who's been very, very strong so far. Marcus McHale with the so far 227 yards on the season. They've also got another good back who's actually been twice as productive in a way, Joshua Armstrong, the senior, who has
yes,
and he also has 214 yards, averaging 9 yards a carry. And Newman also has 294 yards to go along with his 320 yards passing. So that's what we're talking about in Valhalla already, with a couple of wins this season. They're doing a really good job here so far. They beat Mar Vista. They beat San Ysidro here, and their last game was the Hamishaw Helmet game. They lost to Steel Canyon 45-14.
Well, I think in terms of offense, I'm going to say they're somewhat even, to be honest. And I think where this game is going to come down to is, I think, Santana's defense, the Thorntons especially. I think the way they have been playing lately, and they get to the quarterback, I think that's going to be the key to the Sultans beating the Norsemen, because otherwise there's a lot of weapons that people don't realize that the Norsemen have, and that ground assault is fantastic, and you even got a pair of legs for the quarterback too, and he can really sling the ball too. So I don't think it's going to be a blowout by Santana per se, and because it is at Valhalla, that also I think gives them a bit more. So I'm going to say actually Santana. I'm going to say they're going to score 35, and I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say 25 points for Valhalla.
All right. Well, I'm glad that limb is strong here, and I'm going to go with Santana by 3 touchdowns. But yeah, I think 35 to 14 or something like that sounds pretty realistic to me. So, but I'm glad you want to take Valhalla here a little bit to at least keep it a little closer. I think that's admirable, and I'd like to see it, quite frankly, here. And like I said, Dave, Santana, El Cap, West Hills, they have to be wary of the games at Valhalla and at Monta Vista this season. Slip
Trap
up there,
games.
huh?
Trap games.
Trap games, the old trap, the old tarp here. So be careful of that one. But Santana's favored to win. Okay, now here's a game where Dave, like I said, the math doesn't add up. I'll make the prediction for you, Dave. You're picking Monta Vista. You have to pick if Monta, given what you said about the standings, and you have Monta Vista in second place, you have them to win this game. Now El Capitan is going to be about a 4-touchdown favorite in this one.
I'm going to take my man, and that is Alex Villanueva. And I think from
Don't
what
put
he...
words into your mouth. If you want to go back and pick El Cap, you can.
Oh, no. I think that McDade had his defense play a fantastic game. Okay. I think Barker much improved, and I think they're on the way to being the El Cap that they were predicted to be. However, no offense to McDade or the El Capitan Vaqueros, but be fearful of the Monta Vista Monarchs. I think that at first, even Grossmont, I think they underestimated the play of the Monta Vista Monarchs, and you could see in the first half frankly, I thought they were going, what in the heck is going on here? I mean, he was running right through them as far as the run defense for Grossmont. So El Capitan has in my opinion, does have a better defense and one of the better D coordinators in the conference with Sean McDade, former head coach of the Mount Miguel Matadors, I might add. So he's definitely got the knowledge, and I'm sure they're watching the film as we speak, and or they already have, and they are practicing exactly for the run, and trying to stack the box, I'm sure. But I still think that with that, the strength of that offensive line, I think they're going to find those holes. Our correspondent, our ECS correspondent, Kasim, I think he's going to be one of the heroes of the game. And I think he's going to help that offensive line open up some holes. And Alex Villanueva is going to have 6 touchdowns on the night. And
Whoa.
6 touchdowns on the night. However, I think El Cap...
Alex himself is going to score 6 touchdowns against the El Capitan defense.
let's say 5. Let's say 5.
I don't want. If you want 6,
Nope. I'm gonna.
Look, I'll be happy if Monte Vista. I'll be thrilled if Monte Vista scores 3 touchdowns in this game. I love you, Monarchs. I got you on the thing tonight.
I'm gonna go to 5, but I didn't tell you what El Cap was gonna score yet either.
No, I understand. I know where you're going.
So 5 touchdowns.
Yeah, the defense was good.
And I'm hoping.
You just told me one of the best. Do you have? I hope Sean's not watching right now because you just said he's El Cap's going to give up 5 touchdowns to 1 running back.
And I'm hoping Derek gets a chance to air out a couple just to break it up a little bit. I mean, it would be nice to see this Monte Vista surprise any defense with that. And then on the other side, I think El Capitan is, let's just say the final is going to be, I think this high scoring. I'm going to say El Capitan 52 and Monte Vista nope, I changed it.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, you're going to 56.
Yep, 48. I'm going to say Monte Vista 48, and I'm going to say El Capitan is going to they're going to lose by 7.
Okay, 48-41 or so.
Yep.
All right. I'm going to go with El Capitan here to win this one by. Go ahead.
What do the computer strikers say?
El Capitan by the computers here, Dave, is about 4 touchdown favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe even just a little bit more. Right about there. We don't know. They're on strike. They're holding picket signs. AI. We got AI. That AI is what makes the football picks now. So that's why we need people like you that can set us straight, telling us why these computers are so far off here. I'll still stick with El Capitan. If it's going to be 4 I'll go with 3 touchdowns because I really do love what Monte Vista's doing, and I think that. Look, I'm not saying that Grossman, I'm not putting them ahead of El Cap necessarily. I think just yet. I think I do have them ahead right now of El Cap by just a few notches, Dave. I've got Grossmont in my rankings. I try to rank as 45 teams, just keep an eye on all of them. I've got Grossmont 40th. I've got El Capitan 43rd in the county. So put this game here. Talking about, I'm just comparing it because of Grossmont, Monte Vista being able to run all over Grossmont. El Capitan, I think, should have a little bit better defense maybe than Grossmont, even though I rank Grossmont higher because of that awesome offense. So I'm going to go with El Cap by 3 touchdowns here.
And I don't want to necessarily destroy the defenses either. I mean, let's give credit where credit's due on the offensive line. Also, of the Monarchs.
Let's give credit. Okay, yeah. So if you're going to have some bad defense, you got to have some good offense. Give credit to those guys, right? We'll see if it's a high-scoring game. I think that if it is a high-scoring game, Monte Vista is in this game. If I think it's easy to say if Monte Vista doesn't score, they're not going to be in this game. But I think El Capitan will be able to get a few more scores. So I would think lower scoring favors El Cap, higher scoring favors Monte Vista.
I said, the pizza will be. Well, I can't put it in the mail, so.
There's an app. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you got 2 viral talking points here this week.
I'm sticking with it, and especially with Monte Vista because I think everybody kicks them to the side like they're so underrated, and
every year, right? Even since McClendon, right? We always try to make the next Monte Vista runner, and Alex has been, obviously doing it here for a couple of years, but he really is that guy. You're right.
little smaller, well, a lot
No, you're
smaller.
right, but I'm just saying huge numbers, right? Where maybe
Yeah.
before Monte Vista was doing it with, a couple of guys over the last couple of years, just relying on that great offensive line, the way they run the ball with their ground-oriented attack. Okay, here we go, Dave. Well, West Hill, you can name the score here in this one, but you're right. Let me just say what you were make it clear about you were saying of a Brave schedule. They played Crawford. Crawford's really good for this level of team, right? We're going to talk about Crawford in a few moments against Christian, but they lost to Classical, which has turned out to be an okay team as well. They lost to Vincent Memorial, strong team from the desert. Holtville is one of the fastest rising teams out of the desert teams right now. They're still undefeated at 6-0. Losing to Claremont, though, probably were expecting a little better. I know you did, Dave, here. West Hills, the computers actually have this one, Dave, really just a 4 or 5 touchdown game. I have a feeling it should be more, but again, we're really waiting to see West Hills. You've talked about Hamilton being out. DeAngelis has done a pretty fine job, and West Hills does. They just go on these drives, right? They can, unless they bust a few off against the Braves, I'd imagine they'll be content just running the ball, running the clock, getting out of there, and winning this game. 42-7, 42-0, 49-0, just somewhere in there. I got to be honest.
Well, and you mentioned at the beginning of the season too of how fortunate West Hills when it came time for league play, how many home games they had, which was going to be very. They're going to be favorites, I'm sure, because of that. And with this one here, yeah, El Cajon Valley did play some tough teams, but hey, that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. I mean, my not to get off task, and I know it's pro, but my Denver Broncos also are what they got the 8th toughest schedule in the out of 32 teams, and they won 8 games last year. It is what it is. You got to play who you got to play. But I'm saying El Cajon, they might get a touchdown. I'm going to say they'll get 7. But for West Hills, I think they're going to pound the ball, and they are going to. They're going to throw. They're going to throw the ball, obviously, but I think they're going to run the ball, eat up some time, and make it some quick work of this one. And I'm going to say West Hills by 4 touchdowns.
That sounds great. I'll say it by a little bit more, but again, they'll name the score here. It feels like so far, interesting, Dave. West Hills really hasn't done very much in the terms of yardage so far this season. The strength has been all on the defensive side. West Hills has so far this season, Dave, just I had the numbers here from Coach, and I just lost my place here. They'll be fine. They're they're 4-1 right now, so there's no doubt this team's doing a nice job here at this point, Dave. Despite, like we said, some of the games maybe weren't that attractive. Remember against, I think. Let me see. They actually have their record wrong here, though. I knew I was a little bit. They're 2-3. Sorry about that. I know you knew that, but I wasn't even looking at it. But when I looked at the board there, they played wins. Of course, you mentioned the Morris win 7-0, and the Vista win 31-16. They lost at Imperial. They lost to a good University City team, and they lost to Henry. So they've played tough team. Their losses have come to teams that are ranked ahead of them for sure this season. So,
well, both teams have lost to some really tough foes. I don't think there was an easy opponent for either team. However, I still take West Hills and with the 4 touchdowns, just because it's been harder for the Braves to get into the end zone, and frankly, against the Wolfpack, they're not going to make it into the red zone possibly. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, apologize for that, but I think you knew what was going on. I just looked at it and I said, wait a second. But okay, go Braves. Let's stay in this one. Let's improve every week. Okay, Dave, let's go. Oh, get ready now, Dave. Let's go on over to take a look at the Christian Patriots. Weren't they fun to talk to last week after that victory against the Chula Vista Spartans, Dave?
Impressive.
You and I picked them, even though I think that it was supposed to be rated rather closely. In the end, it was not close, and you know why, Dave? Because
Runkle,
the man, Caleb Runkle, the sophomore quarterback of the Christian Patriots. Dave, there's a new wrinkle at Christian High, and it's Caleb Runkle. He had 2 touchdown passes and 2 touchdown throws in the game, Dave, including that wild run at the end of the game where he got knocked backwards, Dave, and then still sent off into the end zone. He also threw that short touchdown pass to Jake Marsh here. It was close early, Dave. In fact, Christian got a safety early in the game from Hank Houston and Tabin Zawacki. The one thing so far, Dave, I've noticed about this Hank Houston has been his versatility. Of course, I want to talk about Runkle. I want to talk about our man Eads as well. You know, with he had that great 44-yard touchdown pass to Brady Eads when he caught a short pass from Runkle late in the first quarter. And Runkle had another 4-yard run too. But Hank Houston, the junior, Dave, last week, 8 tackles on defense. He had that sack with Zawacki for the safety. Also, he had 57 yards rushing on just 3 carries and 2 receptions for 15 yards. So my unheralded star of the week is the Patriots' Hank Houston.
Well, I'm hoping that Mr. Spencer, who started off as the starting quarterback at the beginning of the year, I think this was already going to be the plan of Runkle to come off the bench after he served his time after the transfer from Granite Hills. And I think if he's healed enough, we've seen Spencer. He's pretty quick. I want to say, was he the one that ran track also? I think so. And with that being said, I think they might even be utilizing him as a receiver if he is healthy. And with Runkle and another receiver, and the way that Runkle's able to, did he have baby oil rubbed on the outside of the jersey? Or, he was real slithery in the video that we saw. What a clip, though, I tell you. Thank Rob Davila for that. That was fantastic. But there's so many stars. I'm beating a dead horse. I know it, but it's a team effort. It's always with this year with the Patriots. It is a team effort. Everybody on the team is always doing something, and that's something that's I think a little more rare at every level, and no one's worried about padding their numbers or anything like that. It's about winning the ball game and moving on to the next one. And boy, that was a fantastic play. Holy cow.
Well, here was Runkle early in the game, in the second half here, actually, the pass to Jake Marsh. Then watch this one, Dave.
There it is. Oh, he slips right through him. Bounces off some more. And we have some frustrated Spartans. I mean,
Wow.
I mean, how many guys did he have rushing, blitzing on him, and he found that hole? I think he's a very smart quarterback. I think the reason he also transferred back to Christian from Granite Hills, I think he realized that he wasn't going to get the playing time. He said he had an injury as well, but I think that he realized that he would get the playing time once he served his time on the bench and be the starter over at Christian. I mean, because are you going to kick Benitez out of the helm? Very doubtful. But I think, I mean, you have to be impressed with his first performance out there. I mean, he was lights out. And then the defense too. Same thing. They're tackling well. They're not dropping the ball. They are making some phenomenal catches. And then they're holding on to the ball. I don't think they've even turned the ball over much either. That's one thing that Christian has also been really good about, is holding on to the ball, whether it be a drop pass, interception. I mean, there was a couple of interceptions, but no fumbling and losing the ball. So talk about a team that's on the rise, and they moved over to the league that they should have been in last year.
Well, yeah, and while you're talking about the pick here, if you want to pick the Patriots to win the league, I'm okay with that. But I don't know. I mean, Dave, in the league this year, I'll let you make the prediction, but the league team, Crawford, Patrick Henry, San Diego, and Morse are the other teams in the league.
Well,
the city league.
I would have to say, from what I have seen from Patrick Henry, what he has done, what they have done to a couple of our teams, I'm going to say Patrick Henry is right there at the number one spot. Apologies to my Christian Patriots.
It'll be a great game, Dave, when those two teams meet, actually. I mean, that's going to be, it feels like to me, I mean, those teams are all very closely rated. I didn't mean to interrupt you, in discussing it, but I just feel like the teams are all very closely rated. I love this Crawford team, too. I love their coaching staff. I think they really get a lot done with their players, but also, we saw West Hills only score 7 points against Morris. We know Christian has lost to Morris I covered them losing a playoff game once on the road there. They've always had a great matchup with Morris, and the San Diego Cavers are actually playing awesome as well. They're ranked just behind Christian and Henry right now.
Absolutely. And when were you saying, I asked you earlier before the show, and I wanted to make sure that the audience was aware of that too. The last time that these two teams met has been quite a while.
Oh gosh, it's been at least a dozen, I don't know, 10 years it feels like. I know Christian thumped them 63-0, but just want to say, Dave, that the game this year between Christian and Patrick Henry will be at Valley Stadium. So there you go.
And I think I think they're the top two, hands down. I think Christian definitely, as a whole, is a definitely a better team than Morse. Any given day, it depends on which Morse team you get, I think, this year. But yeah, I definitely think Patriots. If
that team last week, Dave, for Christian, they're going to beat Henry. If that's the Christian Patriots, they're going to beat Henry. If that was real, I mean, it was real last week, but I mean, that same performance. That's what I feel like. I know I'm getting ahead of myself with the Patrick Henry game next week. You got to win this one this week, and it's on the road. But the computers, Dave, pretty much have it by 4 or 5, maybe even 6 touchdowns.
Well, I'm going to say that my Patriots are definitely going to be take out Crawford, and I'm going to give them 6 touchdowns.
Okay, you've got Christian to roll here.
Yep.
Okay, I like Crawford a lot, and I'm actually gonna say that Christian here. I'm gonna go with by 3 touchdowns, maybe 4. I'm gonna say Crawford can keep it close because I just think they do a great job out there with. They're always going to be a little bit short-handed. It feels like numbers-wise with the number of players, but man. Coach Marquez gets more from his team than anybody in the county. I think everyone can agree with that. We did see Crawford beat our Mountain Empire Warhawks Redhawks a couple weeks ago, Dave, 35-0. But they did just lose last week to Bonita Vista at home, 17-7. They also lost to powerful La Jolla Country Day, just 26-6. And we know Crawford beat the Braves in that season opener, 31-0. And Crawford also beat a team you and I are quite familiar with in the East County, Mar Vista, 49-16. So I'm going to say Christian I'll say 3 touchdowns here, or I don't know, maybe 4, because I'm willing to. I know we lost. Christian has a couple losses here, David. I'm almost willing to put those behind us here. I don't want to put too much on Caleb. The number, 200 yards of total offense, but it just seemed like a bigger impact than even just those numbers. Those are good. He ran for 70 yards. He passed for 137, I think. So, but that play bouncing off, showing his toughness there when he got rocked, no doubt should have been one of the plays of the week, it felt like. So I think that's what I'm seeing here. We'll just see how good this Christian, but it changes the whole dynamic for the Patrick Henry game, I think, next week. All right. Got a couple more here real quick. We'll wrap up the show, Dave, so you go watch the end of the game. Padres leading 5-2. Going to wrap up this series and get ready to take on the Dodgers. Dave, Mountain Empire is going to take on Rock Academy. The computers pretty much have this one in favor of
Mountain Empire.
Hawks, yeah, by maybe a touchdown, maybe a field goal here, whatever the case may be. Mountain Empire is going to be the slight favorite here against Rock Academy, and I would imagine as long as they're healthy, they'll be able to get this one finally and get another win, but. Go ahead, Dave. I don't know if you have that much on this one this week.
We don't, and I mean, the only game that I saw them play was against against a phenomenal Hopeville game.
Yeah,
and
we know now Hopeville is even better than usual. Hopeville, and again, we just talked about Crawford, and. It was 35-0. Get this, they lost to Victory Christian Academy last week. Did the Mountain Empire Redhawks, and Austin Dill was the man that led Victory Christian Academy in that game.
I'm surprised we don't have our Army-Navy guy in here asking. I forget the name of but I'm surprised not commenting.
So they ended up that game. It was as good of a game as advertised in that game last week, but I'm afraid that Army Navy did end up on the short end of that one.
So Mountain Empire get their second win, and I'm going to say 3 touchdowns.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, Army Navy lost to Bishops in that big game last week, 45-14. Army Navy made a good account of themselves, certainly, but Bishops, we have them in our poll, Dave, right now ranked number 26, I think, here after that game, just outside of the top 25. So, okay, I've got Mountain Empire winning this one by a couple of points here. I'll take them by 3 or 4 points here, maybe a touchdown. And finally, I'll just touch on this one. Don't know. I really don't know. I do know a little bit about it. Foothills Christian here is playing Noli Indian High School, and it could be whatever Foothills wants it to be. I think it could be a game if they wanted to score 70 points, I think they could. It could be 70-0, 70-7, 70-4, something like that. Maybe they'll take it easy on them. Maybe it'll be 56-7 or 56-14. Don't take my word for it, Dave. The computers are on strike. I had to do some extra research this week, but the computers are apparently going to be back. And your Milwaukee Brewers have just hit a home run here as well. Garrett Mitchell. I called it today a little bit on the you know what, but. So, okay, Dave, that's going to great predictions. We'll see. You're on the hook, or I'm on the hook. Who says I'm going to be right compared to Dave Dickens, son of the fearsome forecaster, Bill Dickens? So, great calls on this one, Dave. We'll see how it goes this week, and we'll be with you on Friday night here, on league night. So, it's going to be more awesome than usual.
It's going to be a party.
All right, you're going to want to be here for this one. Special thanks to Granite Mortgage and Lakeside Equipment, our title sponsors here of the East County Sports Report. Dave, appreciate everything. All right. For Dave Dickens, I'm Ramon Scott. Thank you for joining us.